The year was 1867, and the Arizona sun beat down like a hammer on the backs of the damned. Dust shimmered over the canyon floor, turning the world into a blur of gold and blood. From the ridge, I could see the wagon train crawling to the ravine, a line of soldiers, their rifles glinting, their faces set hard as stone. And chained to the tailgate of the last wagon was a girl, skin bronzed by the desert, hair black as raven wings, wrists bound in iron. They said she was Apache. They said she'd slit a soldier's throat with her teeth. But even from that distance, I could tell she wasn't the monster they claimed. She was just a soul caught in the wrong war. My name's Calderreed. Some called me Outlaw. Others called me worse. I led a gang of 6 men who'd rather die in the open than live behind walls. That morning, we were after a payroll strongbox rumored to be guarded by that convoy. But the moment I saw the girl in chains, gold stopped matching. Something in her eyes, cold, defiant, made me think of all the times I've been bound and branded by men who thought law meant justice. I raised my hand. The signal. Below, the canyon erupted. Rifles cracked. Horses screamed. The smell of gunpowder tore through the air. My men, Boone, Cutter, and the rest, rode down the slope like devils unchained. Bullets whined off rock, and soldiers shouted orders no one could follow. The girl ducked behind the wagon wheel, her chains clanking, her breath ragged. One trooper tried to drag her up as a shield, but I was faster. My colt barked once, and he fell, mouth open, eyes staring at nothing. The fight lasted less than a minute. When the dust settled, the only sound were groans and the crackle of dying fires. A few horses bolted. One wagon burned. Boone spat and laughed. Easy money. But I wasn't looking at the gold. I was looking at her. She sat in the dirt, wrists still cuffed, face streaked with ash. She didn't beg, didn't cry, just looked up at me through lashes thick with dust. "You gonna kill me too?" she asked, voice raw but steady. I holstered my Colt. Not today. Behind me, Boone and Cutter were already prying open crates, whooping at the sight of gold coins. They didn't notice me crouched beside her, or maybe they didn't care. "You speak English," I said. "Enough to know when a man lies." That stung more than it should have. "You got a name?" She hesitated, then muttered, "Tala." "Means what?" "Wolf." A fitting name, I thought. There was wildness in her eyes, a kind of quiet rage that no chain could crush. "Where's the key to those irons?" I asked. She nodded toward a dead officer. I found the key on a cord around his neck, but when I tried the lock, it wouldn't turn. Rusted solid. Typical army work. So I stepped back, aimed my revolver, and fired. The Shackles sprang open with a metallic cry. The others stopped laughing. "Calder," Boone growled. "You out of your mind? She's a damn savage. We can sell her in Prescott, get a fortune." I turned slowly. "She's not for sale." "Hell, she ain't. You know what the law'll pay for one of them." I said she's not for sale. The air went tight. Boone's hand drifted toward his pistol. I stared him down. The man blinked first. Tala didn't move. She rubbed her wrists, the skin raw and bleeding. When I offered her water, she took it without a word. Didn't thank me. Didn't need to. Gratitude's a language for people who still believe the world's fair. By sundown, we reached our hideout, a narrow canyon marked by twisted pines and the bones of old campfires. The men unloaded loot while Tala sat by the fire, wrapped in a blanket too big for her. The flames threw shadows on her face, carving out the hollows beneath her eyes. She hadn't spoken since the ambush. Boone passed around whiskey, grumbling. "Bad luck bringing her here. Apache spirits come for us." "Then I'll be ready," I said. He laughed, but it was uneasy. Men like Boone weren't afraid of bullets. They were afraid of ghosts. I kept my distance from them and sat opposite Tala, sharpening my knife on a whetstone. The rhythm calmed me. Steel on stone, fire on skin, wind whispering through the canyon. "You could have run," I said. "Why didn't you?" Her gaze lifted slowly. "Run where?" "The desert kills slower than soldiers." I didn't have an answer. The silence between us wasn't empty. It was heavy, filled with everything neither of us dared say. Later, When the camp quieted, I noticed the scars on her back, faded lash marks, some deep enough to catch the firelight. I turned away, jaw tight. Once upon a time, I had scars like that too. Branded a thief when I was 16. I still remember the sound of my own flesh burning. Maybe that's why I couldn't walk away from her. She wasn't a prize or a burden. She was a reminder. Near midnight, a desert wind stirred. I stepped outside the camp, staring at the stars spilling across the sky. That's when I heard the distant echo of hooves. Not ours. Too many. Too heavy. I dropped to a crouch and scanned the ridge. Faint lantern light flickered through the darkness. Patrols. The army was coming fast. I went back to camp and kicked Boone awake. Get up. We've got riders closing in. How close? Half a mile, maybe less. The men scrambled, packing gold and guns. Tala was already standing, blanket thrown aside, eyes sharp and alert. Boone pointed at her. Told you, they're tracking her. She's cursed. Before I could stop him, he lunged. His hand closed around her arm, yanking her toward the fire. She struggled, striking him across the face, and he raised his fist. I drew my Colt. Let her go, I said. Boone froze. You ain't serious. Try me. For a long moment, no one breathed. The fire popped, spitting sparks between us. Boone's hand dropped. He stepped back, muttering curses. She's going to get us all killed, Calder. Maybe, I said, keeping my gun steady. But not tonight. Tala rubbed her arm, watching me with something like disbelief. I holstered my weapon and turned toward the canyon mouth, scanning the darkness. We couldn't stay here. Pack light, I told the men. We moved before dawn. Boone grumbled, Cutter cursed, and the rest obeyed. Gold jingled softly in saddlebags. Tala didn't ask where we were going. She just stood beside her horse, quiet as the night around her. As I mounted up, I looked back one last time at the dying campfire. The smoke curled into the stars, thin and ghostly. That night, I didn't sleep. Maybe it was the soldiers behind us. Maybe it was the girl beside me. Either way, I could feel in my bones something was coming. And whatever it wasn't mercy. Dawn came crawling over the desert like a wounded animal, dragging light behind it. The air stank of sweat and gun oil. We'd ridden all night, our horses half dead beneath us, trying to stay ahead of the army patrol that hunted our trail. By the time the sun broke, the horizon was already blurring into heat. I could feel the storm of men and bullets somewhere behind us, close enough to taste. Keep moving, I told the men. Don't stop till I say. Boone shot me a glare, but kicked his horse forward. The gold in his saddlebags clinked like chains, reminders of the weight that would get us all killed. Tala rode last, silent, her long hair whipping across her face. She didn't complain, didn't ask where we were going, just rode like she'd done it her whole life. Maybe she had. The canyon opened into flatland, the kind that offered no place to hide. A hawk wheeled overhead. And then I heard it, the faint, metallic cry of a bugle. They've found us, Cutter shouted. Ride! We tore across the desert. Dust rose behind us, thick as smoke. Rifles cracked from somewhere over the ridge. Boone's horse went down screaming. He tumbled hard, rolled, came up bleeding from his head. Leave him, Cutter yelled, but I doubled back. Boone was cursing, fumbling for his gun. I grabbed his arm and hauled him up behind me just as a bullet tore through the saddle where his chest had been. The sound of it made the horse rear and scream. We kept riding until the rocks swallowed us, a maze of red stone and shadow. Tala shouted something in Apache, pointing ahead. I followed her lead without thinking, trusting her instinct more than the map in my head. She found a narrow pass half hidden by brush. We forced the horses through and slid down into a dried-up riverbed. For a while, there was only the sound of our breathing and the scrape of hooves on gravel. Then silence. No bugle. No gunfire. Boone spat blood into the dirt. You should have left me. Yeah, I said. But I didn't. He gave me a look I couldn't read. Guilt, maybe, or shame. I didn't care which. Tala dismounted, moving with that same quiet grace I'd seen before. She crouched by the riverbed wall, pressing her ear to the stone. "They follow tracks," she said softly. "We cover them, we live." Boone snorted. "You trust her now?" "I trust results," I said. "Do what she says." We used dead brush to sweep our prints. By dusk, we'd vanish into the mountains, the Sierra Blanca, cold and cruel even in summer. The air changed there, thinner, sharper. It smelled of pine and ghosts. That night we built a small fire, just enough to keep fingers warm. No one spoke much. Cutter mended his rifle. Boone kept muttering about curses. Tala knelt apart from us, humming something low and strange. A song, maybe. The sound of it carried through the pines, soft and ancient. I watched her in the firelight. Her face was different now, less guarded, but still unreadable. The kind of woman who'd been forced to survive long after her heart should have quit trying. When the wind shifted, I caught the scent of smoke far off. Campfire smoke, more men, maybe soldiers, maybe worse. I put out our fire with dirt. "We move again at dawn," I told them. Boone groaned. "You'll ride us to death. Then you'll die free." He didn't argue after that. By the third day, our food was gone. The horses stumbled, ribs showing. The cold gnawed at us even under the sun. I'd been shot before, starved before, hunted before, but never like this. The world fell hollow, stripped down to survival. That evening we found a clearing by a frozen stream. Tala went ahead, knelt beside it, and pressed her hand to the water's surface. "Still good," she said. "How you know?" She gave a ghostly smile. "Water tells truth." I laughed once low. "You're a strange one. And you talk too much," she said, which was maybe the first time she tried humor. I didn't mind it. We ate what little she caught. Rabbits, tough and stringy, roasted over a weak flame. The night came down like a shroud. I stared at the fire, thinking about all the roads that led me here, about the faces I'd buried, the men I'd killed, the things I'd lost. "You ever going to tell me what they did to you?" I asked finally. She looked up, eyes reflecting firelight. "You wouldn't want to hear." "Try me." It took her a while to speak. When she did, her voice was steady, like she'd burned out all the fear long ago. "They came at night. Soldiers. Said they were moving us for safety. My father fought. They shot him. My mother ran. They took me instead. Sold me to a man in uniform. When I tried to run, they said I was a traitor. They put me in chains." Her hand brushed the scars on her wrists. I didn't say anything. Couldn't. The fire popped once, and a coal rolled into the dirt. Finally, I said, "They did the same to me in their own way. Just traded my chains for paper. Laws written by men who never bled." She studied me for a long time. "Then why keep running for gold? Why not stop?" I didn't have an answer I was proud of, because gold don't lie. It's the only thing that don't change sides. She shook her head and whispered, "You're still chained. Just can't see the metal." Before I could reply, a twig snapped. Her head whipped toward the dark. I was on my feet, cold drawn. Then came the low murmur of voices. Too close. Too many. Boone cursed under his breath. Cutter reached for his rifle. "Tala," I hissed, "get down." But she was already moving, slipping through the shadows like smoke. A moment later, she was back, eyes wide. "Your men," she whispered. "The others. They come." "What others?" Same mark on their saddles. It hit me like a hammer. Vance Harlan, my old second in command. The man I left for dead months ago after a bank job gone wrong. I barely had time to curse before the first shot split the air. Gunfire tore through the night. The camp exploded in chaos. Boone went down screaming, hit in the leg. Cutter fired back, yelling something I didn't hear. I dragged Tala behind a fallen log and returned fire. Shadows moved in the trees. Vance's men, maybe 10 of them. A familiar voice called out, "You always did run, Soft Calder." I peered over the log. Vance stood under the moonlight, grinning. Same scar across his cheek. Same dead eyes. "Give me the girl and the gold," he shouted. "Maybe I let you live." Don't make promises you can't keep, I said and fired. The bullet clipped his hat. He ducked, cursing. His men answered with a hail of lead. Bark splintered around us. Cutter went silent, hit bad, maybe dead. Boone crawled toward me, blood soaking his pants. They're gonna kill us, Reed. Not if we kill them first. Tala's hand gripped my arm. There's a way, she said. Up the ridge. Fire trail. I followed her gaze. An old mining shaft half collapsed, leading uphill. If we set a blaze, the fire would spread fast, maybe fast enough to buy us time. I gave her a nod. Do it. While I covered her, she darted through the brush, striking flint to dry grass. Moments later, the hillside came alive with flames. The orange glow swallowed the night, thick smoke choking the air. Vance cursed as fire hemmed his men in. I found him again through the smoke, standing tall and furious. We fired at the same time. His bullet grazed my shoulder. Mine caught him clean across the chest. He stumbled back, hands clawing at the wound, then fell. Boone screamed somewhere behind me, his voice fading into the fire's roar. The gold melted where the crates caught flame. I didn't care. I grabbed Tala's arm. Go! We ran through smoke and ash, the world burning behind us. She didn't look back, and neither did I. By dawn, the fire was a red scar across the mountain. We collapsed in a hollow near the ridge, coughing black dust. Vance, she asked. Dead, I said, but the army'll see that smoke. She stared at the sunrise, her face unreadable. Then we keep moving. I nodded, though my shoulder throbbed and my head spun. For the first time in years, I felt something like peace. Bitter, fleeting, but real. The fire had burned more than the gold. It had burned the last of what tied me to my past. As I drifted toward sleep, I heard Tala whisper something in her language. I didn't understand the words, but I felt them settle deep, like a prayer for the living, or maybe for the dead. We had nowhere left to run, only forward, into whatever waited beyond the next ridge. The Rio Grande was swollen from the storm, a roaring brown serpent cutting through the land. We reached it by noon, half dead and bleeding, the army's dust still trailing behind us. My shoulder burned where Vance's bullet had grazed bone, and Tala's hands were blistered from leading the horses through miles of thorns and stone. The sky above us hung heavy with thunder, the kind that felt like a warning. They'll be on us before dark, I said. Tala stood at the riverbank, wind tangling her hair, eyes fixed on the far side. Then we crossed now. The current will tear us apart. She glanced at me, calm and steady. Better water than bullets. I wanted to argue, but the sound behind us decided it for me. A horn, faint but closing. The soldiers had found the trail of fire we'd left behind. There was no more time for thought. We mounted what horses still stood, and I pulled Tala up behind me. Hold on, I said. She didn't answer, but her arms tightened around my waist. The river hit like a wall. Cold, violent. The horses screamed as the current ripped against them. I felt one lose footing and vanish under. Another stumbled, dragging its rider into the torrent. The world spun, a chaos of water, thunder, and gunfire cracking from the far shore. I tried to steer, to fight the pull, but pain shot through my shoulder, white-hot. Then I was falling. The current swallowed us whole. For a moment, there was nothing but the roar of the river and the weight of the world pressing down. Then light, air, hands gripping my coat. Tala, choking and gasping, dragging me toward a jagged bank. Somehow she found footing, hauling me free. We lay there, coughing water, shaking, the world spinning around us. Rain started falling, cold and relentless. You saved me, I said between breaths. Her reply was quiet. You saved me first. We didn't speak after that. The rain did the talking. Steady, endless. When it finally eased, we followed the river south until we found shelter, an old mission long abandoned, its stone walls cracked and bleeding moss. A bell hung from the tower, half broken, swaying with every gust. Inside it was quiet. Candlelight from the remnants of old wax still clung to the altar. The air smelled of dust and forgotten prayers. Tala helped me strip off my torn coat. Blood had soaked through the sleeve. She cleaned the wound with water, and herbs she carried, working slow, gentle. Her fingers trembled, but her eyes never did. "Why help me?" I asked. "I've done nothing to deserve it." She met my gaze. "You broke my chains." I tried to laugh, but it hurt too much. All I did was fire a bullet. "No," she said softly. "You fired the first one that mattered." Her words stuck somewhere deep. For a long while we said nothing, just sat in the flickering light, two ghosts sharing the same quiet. Outside, the rain thickened again. I could hear the wind clawing at the shutters, whispering through the cracks like voices from another time. She moved closer to the fire and pulled out her knife. The blade caught the light as she carved a small shape into the stone wall, a wolf. "So they'll know we passed," she said. "My people believe spirits follow marks like these." I traced the carving with my thumb. "Then maybe I'll leave one next to it." She smiled just barely. "You don't believe in spirits." I didn't. Not till I met one. Her eyes softened, the fire reflecting gold in the darkness. For a heartbeat, the war, the hunger, the pain, all of it fell away. There was only her, the silence between breaths, and the faint echo of thunder far off. Then came the gunshot. The window shattered behind us. I hit the floor, dragging Tala down. The door burst open, and the storm blew in with it. Soldiers, rifles raised. At their head rode a man in a tattered duster, half-burned and bleeding. Vance. He wasn't dead after all. "Miss me, Reed," he rasped, leveling his pistol. "You always did have 9 lives." I pulled my gun, but my arm shook. The wound had weakened me. Tala was already moving, ducking behind the altar. The first shot cracked. The bullet tore through the pew beside me. Stone splintered. "Give it up, Calder." Vance roared. "The girl's mine. Always was." "Over my dead body." I growled. "That's the plan." Another shot. Then chaos. Tala lunged from cover, throwing a knife that clipped one soldier's throat. He fell, choking. I fired twice, dropping another. Vance charged forward, his eyes wild, gun blazing. Smoke filled the air. The mission became a battlefield again. Sanctuary turned slaughterhouse. He fired once more. The bullet found my side this time, hot and deep. I staggered back, the world tilting. But even bleeding, I didn't drop. I raised my Colt and fired. The shot took him square in the chest. He stood there a moment, blinking, then fell to his knees. "You always did have a soft spot for strays," he spat before falling face first onto the stone. Silence swallowed the world. The soldiers who followed him fled into the rain, leaving only the echo of boots fading into distance. I slumped against the altar, blood running warm beneath my fingers. Tala rushed to me, pressing her hands against the wound. "Stay with me." "I'm here," I said, voice rough. "For now." "You can't die. Not like this." I looked at her, smiling through the pain. "You remember what you told me? About water telling truth?" She nodded, eyes glistening. "Well, it's true for men too. Truth is, I was already half dead before I met you." She shook her head, tears cutting clean lines through the dirt on her face. "No, you were just waiting to live." I reached up, brushed a strand of hair from her cheek. "Live for me, then. No more chains, you hear?" Her hands trembled around mine. "I promise." "Good." My voice faded. "Don't let the world break you. Make it remember you." The last thing I saw was her face, framed by the dying firelight, strong and fierce as the wolf carved on the wall. When the storm passed, the desert was silent again. The sun rose slow, spilling gold across the mission ruins. Tala buried me beneath the bell tower, marking the grave with a stone etched with a wolf symbol. She sat beside it for a long time, whispering in her language, until the wind carried her words away. Then she saddled her horse and rode south, toward the open country. No soldiers followed. No chains held her back. They say that years later, a traveler found that mission, found the grave beneath the bell, the carving of the wolf, and the mark of a Colt bullet lodged deep in the altar stone. Folks still whisper about it when the wind blows through the canyons. That somewhere out there rides a woman with eyes like fire and a spirit that can't be tamed. And maybe that's the truth of it. Maybe the frontier wasn't built on gold or blood or law. Maybe it was built on people like her, those who refuse to stay chained. If this tale stirred something in you, don't keep it quiet. Share it. Somewhere out there, another soul's waiting to remember what freedom sounds like.